everyone, I'm Mr. Gaming Guitarist, and holy shit, the ending of tonight's episode of Halt and Catch Fire. God damn, that was... oh, I think that has got to be, by far, the most intense moment of this entire series. That was just... God damn. Oh, we will get into that, but we're going to go through this episode. So, hi, I'm Mr. Gaming Guitarist, and welcome to my episode review for Season 3, Episode 7 of Halt and Catch Fire. This episode was titled The Threshold, and I think I can understand why it was called that. So, of course, this is your spoiler warning. If you have not seen this episode of Halt and Catch Fire yet, there will be full spoilers throughout this video review, so do not watch this review if you do not want to get spoiled, and that's your spoiler warning. Alright, now let's finally get into this episode. So, it's kind of funny how this episode opens up with Cameron looking the happiest she's ever been, and yet it looks like it's going to end, and I wasn't expecting it, but it's kind of funny how now we're at the exact contrast with how she is, without a doubt, the most crushed and the most heartbroken and the angriest and the saddest and the most devastated she's ever been. So it's like, oh man, what a way to have a character from the beginning to the ending of the episode. I've never seen something like that in a while. It was good. So anyways, so yeah, it turns out Cameron actually did move into the house that she lived in, or that she was looking at with that realtor with Donna, and it's funny because she was just looking for the plant. Where does she put the plant? And then Tom comes in, and they kiss each other for a while. But it was funny how he wanted to do the classic thing where he now carries his new wife into the house, and yet Cameron says, you don't have to do that, right? So then it's funny how he just put her down and said, I think I pulled something. But anyway, I'm glad to see Tom back. So it turns out he isn't going to be at Mutiny anymore. So we don't know exactly what he's going to be doing, but I just wonder what that could potentially be. So next up, I really enjoyed the scene where Joe told Ryan, hey, pretend everything is fine and you're going to get fired. So, yeah, that was funny. So next up, so this is quite a big shift. We got to see Gordon finally see where, by the way, here we go again, my iced tea, because I can't drink soda anymore. Yeah. So next we see Gordon finally watch the tape of Joe confessing, and his reaction was so funny because Gordon just said, "Holy shit!" It's like he did the one thing he never thought Joe would ever actually do, and he did it. So it was funny to see just how shocked and how confused he was in that whole time. It was great acting in this. I mean, there's always great acting, but this episode especially was exceptional from everyone. So next up, I really enjoyed the way they shot the scene of how it looked like Donna and Cameron, it looked like they weren't really speaking to each other for a few days. So, something wrong with my eyebrow. Looks like my eyebrow is balding for some reason. It's weird. Anyways, so I really like that shot how the camera was still pointed at just Cameron, but it was shot so that you can see through Cameron's window, you can see Donna pick up the phone in her office. I thought that was just a really nice shot. I guess it's like it might be showing the showing the threshold of where this is the point at the breaking edge where things are going to be okay before shit completely hits the fan. And so when you saw the two of them and Gordon and Tom at the dinner, and you heard the story of how they met and how Tom says, I don't want to move back. I don't want to move to California just for a girlfriend, but I might move there for my new wife or something like that. And then Donna says, "Oh, that is such a nice story," and Gordon's like, "What? Yeah." Ah. I thought that was really funny. I enjoyed that. But then it's funny how you see Don, but it's funny too how Tom says, "Oh, I'm not going to work at Mutiny because mixing work and relationships just doesn't really seem to be really good," which is why I left the first time. And you can see Don and Gordon like saying, "Ah, shit. Well, isn't he speaking the truth based on like how many times her and Gordon have gotten into arguments about work and then transferred it over to, oh, well, this is going so shitty about work here, and yet you want to do some, and yet you're going to do this shit in our marriage and blah blah blah." It's, oh god, that's quite the something, like all these metaphors and everything happening, just goddamn. So then we got to see them in the bathroom, and Donna says she hates lying to Cameron. And yet I find it funny that she says she hates lying to Cameron when it turns out she was going to pull the IPO, or it seemed like she was pretty much on the edge of about to moving forward on starting the IPO without Cameron, like once again trying to do something behind her back. So, yeah, of course, getting into that later because I like to talk about the episode in chronological order. So, yeah, so this is the beginning of the fuck shit. So then you saw Cameron write down her new ideas for Mutiny on a bunch of the yellow notepad papers. I remember, I don't use those, I don't ever see those things anymore. Like the yellow notepads that you tear off, with the, I used to have those, but not anymore. Anyways, so Cameron has new ideas on a notepad for Mutiny, and of course, Donna doesn't agree with it, but she says, "Okay, you know what? I'll look these over." So then we finally see Joe and Gordon meet for only the second time this season, where he finally shows up at his house. And I just loved, Gordon really gets, I think Gordon wins for snark points. He wins the snark award for this episode because he says, nice house. Can't wait to take it from you. and then he says, "Oh, nice vase." And Joe says, "That's not a vase." And then he says, "Yeah, you can really tell that a designer came up with the couch arrangements and I forgot what he said. Like, I think he said it's like a paint or like a piece of art from a Japanese painter or something. I forgot what Joe said. But he says, "Yeah, it's all real interesting stuff. Wonder how you're going to pay for this now that it's my company." And I really like that Gordon got to just have a lot of glut. Like, he really got to just bask in the moment saying, "Joe finally admitted I was right the whole time. And now I get to celebrate this moment. Hooray!" And I just love seeing Gordon bask in that moment. That was so good. And then you can see that Joe says, "I deserve everything that you're doing to me." And then Gordon says, "You're right." But you can tell how he's like tugging at him, saying he's trying to get him to give him his money back, But then he says, "Please, just give me a finder's fee." And then he says, "For turning your idea into what I've turned it into." And yet at the same time, Joe is saying something, sure, but once again, he took Gordon's idea and completely ran with it. So why shouldn't Gordon punish Joe? Why doesn't Joe deserve to be punished and Gordon just take everything away from him? Well, but then of course later on in the episode we'll get into that. So then it's kind of funny how Cameron goes into Bosworth's house I'm sorry, no, Diane's house, and you see, and it was so funny to see her shocked to see him there, and but then it's funny how. Oh wait, shit! This was supposed to be Donna that was there, not Cameron. How Cameron was there discussing the IPO offer with her, and yet he just tells her, and yet Bosworth just shows up out of the blue, and you see Cameron and fuck me. You see Donna and them discuss the IPO deal, and Bosworth didn't know that Cameron got married, and you can tell he was hurt by that. You can tell he was hurt that he didn't know that they got married, because of course, and we get into this later on, but you see Bosworth get pretty upset about that, and with right reason. So, anyways, and I also really liked how Gordon told Donna that if she forces and goes ahead with the IPO, you will burn bridges that can't be unburned, or something like that. And you can see Donna struggling with that and you can tell Cameron wants to go through with the IPO too, but she wants to do that she wants to push off that IPO to get these new ideas fully implemented into Mutiny. But then of course, Donna's worried that that won't happen, because by the time after those ideas happen, the IPO offer won't be as high, and the public's interest and the potential shareholders in Mutiny won't be interested in getting shares of the company anymore, because it would be too late. So it's like she's worried about the timing, and yet Cameron wants to risk that for doing something what she thinks might be great again. But that's the thing about Cameron, she's always worried about me. Like, she has a lot of ownership over Mutiny. She says, no, I don't want anything bad to happen with my company, and yet she's not. It's like she's passionate about her own ideas, but then at the same time, she's not exactly she doesn't really care about how to properly run a business. Like, that's the thing. Cameron just cares about the creative parts, whereas Donna is actually thinking about how are we going to keep this business together. That's the two. Of course, that's it's a classic combination of two different people with those ideas. You got the creatives, you got the business, and right now they're at a point where they are completely not agreeing with each other. So then later on, so I finally found out Matthew Lillard's name. I believe his name is Ken. So Ryan finds out from Ken that Joe gave the company to Gordon, and Joe, of course, he never told Ryan that he gave the company to Gordon. So it really makes, and of course, at this point, as an audience, we're all wondering, what is Gordon going to say? Does Ryan think he's trying to shut Joe out? And, so of course it made him think rationally. So we saw that scene. We'll get into that. Or fuck it, I can just tell you now. So maybe it is better if I don't do this in chronological order. Anyways, I guess it keeps my flow better. So we see Ryan frantically typing out code. And wondering, what is that? And then you saw him take apart, it's sort of like in Mr. Robot when Elliot takes apart his computer, but instead of throwing the CPUs in the microwave, you see Gordon. You see Ryan burn his hard drives and everything. And at this point, we're wondering, is he destroying the project for good because he completely thought that Joe is trying to get him, is trying to bury him under the carpet? But it turns out no. Joe just really wanted to come up with. Joe just really wanted to. Continue the NSFNet idea no matter what, and it was really fucked up because because you see Ken and Gordon show up, and they're saying, well, we both don't like Joe, and so if you run this, I forgot what they talked about. They came up with a deal. like about getting rid of NSFNet or something like. I forgot. Someone in the comments can tell me. Like in that room, when Ken and Gordon were both in there, and he says, "Let's get rid of our lawyers to make this faster." I forgot what it was exactly they talked about, but they came up with something, which is kind of a contrast to when Gordon told Joe, "I'll give you 49% of the company," which remember is higher, which is higher than what when Joe would apparently keep 30% of the company, or when he was trying to give him 70 and 30%. We still don't know exactly what's going to happen yet, but we'll see. We'll see how that works. But it's all funny because now it's like just as Joe got his funds back to looks like to fully implement the NSFNet deal, when he's like rushing back to Ryan's house saying, "Ryan, I got it. Things are going to be fine." Then he's like, "No, Joe. Wait, what do you mean? I released it to the public. Fuck Macmillan Utility. We did everything. I told the guys the truth that you were trying to stand by your ideals, and the board shut you out because the board's a bunch of assholes." And it's funny because like Joe's trying to, all of a sudden, like that quickly, he was out of the company and now he's back into the company, and that plan, that revenge plan, like that would work so perfectly now that Joe is out of the company. Now all of a sudden they're Ryan put Joe in a bunch of shit because now that source code is free to the public, and of course that lines up with Joe's ideals of that he wants things to stay free, but like that's what he says he believes in it, but the board doesn't, and so now it's finally free, and yet he still wants to make money off of it, and now it's like he can't because Ryan forced the hand to finally let NSFNet free. So I'm very, very curious to see how this is all going to develop into, because this is episode 7, and they said there's only 2 weeks left, which kind of puzzles me because season 1 and season 2 both had 10 episodes. So unless there are 10 episodes, I'm just stupid, because at the end of the preview for next week's episode, they said that there's only 2 episodes left. But is there still 10? Are they going to run episodes 9 and 10 as like a 2-hour thing? I don't know. But anyways, so yeah, very interesting stuff now in the development of Gordon now being the majority shareholder of Macmillan Utility. Well, interesting developments. Can't wait to see how that cookie crumbles. Speaking of crumbling cookies, we get to see the biggest fuck shit of the episode, and like the biggest ass. What's a proper term here? We get into the biggest asshole clenching moment of what I believe to be the entire series. Of course, because things seem to be really happy, because and of course, Gordon was right, because he told Donna, you don't want to force an IPO because you will cross lines that can't be uncrossed with Cameron. And because Cameron will see it as an act of war, and of course, and it's so funny because they were throwing this party, and the coders, the guys over at Mutiny, they're all happy to see Tom back, and they revealed the news to everyone, but then at the very end, oh man, that board meeting because Gordon told Cameron that Donna might be forcing the IPO because you might own the majority, but she could get everyone to rally up for it against you behind your back. And so then of course Cam talks to Boz, and then we got this really, really great touching scene where Toby Huss just delivered this perfectly, where he says that, "When were you going to tell me?" And I thought that, Cameron says she just found out, and she thought Boz was talking about the Donna going ahead with the IPO, but no, she was worried. He wants to know, when was he going to tell her that she was married? And then he just says that thing. It's heartbreaking, where he says, you don't have to, or he just says, you don't have to see me as your, I get that you don't see me like a father, but I will never stop seeing you as my daughter. And I was like, oh, fuck. That was some shit. Oh, man, that hit me right there. And then, and you can see Cameron, feeling bad from what happened in Texas. How she says, "You're not my father," and then Boz says, "But you are. You will always be like my daughter," because he says, "I love you, and you will always be like my daughter." And that was like, oh fuck. And it turns into even more fuck shit again. How that goddamn motherfucking board meeting. Whew! Oh, because at first, Cameron goes into it rationally. How she says, "I'm concerned about what's happening with this, what's going on here with the company. So I want to put out these plans, and yet we have to do this IPO, and then of course, and then of course, it's like." I'm not trying to be anti-feminist when I say a pretty big fucking cat fight happens between Donna and Cameron. And it's like, oh shit. And then because you see, oh god, you can almost see the smoke coming out of both Cameron and Donna's ears. It was like, god damn. Because she says, "I really wonder just how much longer your marriage. How dare you talk about marriage when I doubt you and Tom are even going to last 1 year?" And then and then Cameron says, "Oh yeah, who's really saying? Oh, Donna, is that really you saying that? Because most of the things seem to be a copy and paste. Everything just seems to be the same thing. Because really, it just feels like everything." It feels like Donna's just speaking through shit. It just sounds like Diane's just speaking through your mouth. It's like, oh, fuck. It's like, oh, man, the tension. Oh, God, the tension. The fuck shit's so good right now. And you can see, we will just wait for, and, Bosworth is trying to calm the room down, where he just says, and it's funny too, because back there, Gordon says, even though I'm against it, I have to side with Donna because she's my wife. And then because Cameron says, yeah, but that she's that cat stabbing, overjoying bitch. And then Gordon says, yeah, careful, that's my wife. And it's man. Oh, this episode's so good. This scene was so good. This third act was so fucking good, and you see them start talking, and the tension just gets higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. And then and then when Boz says, "We'll discuss this in the morning," and then when Boz starts to walk out, and Cameron just slams the door in front of him, and then she says, "We decide on this tonight." And then you're raising the tension even higher. So, and then she says, "We put this to a vote right now." And you can tell it's like she's trying to force things, and you can, and then we put this to a vote. And then, of course, Donna's the first one to shoot her hand up. And then slowly, and then you see Diane put her hand up, and then you slowly see Gordon put her hand up, because, of course, he says, "I have to stand with, to do what my wife supports," And then you see Donna, and then you see Boz, like the last one, and he's getting choked up, and he says, you're breaking my goddamn heart," because you can tell he's forcing them to be in a position to where if they agree with the IPO, that Cameron's going to take it extremely personally, because of course Cameron always takes everything personally. Sometimes it's like, that's her big flaw. She takes everything personally so much. And, it's like, and yet at the same time, she's not exactly in the wrong here. But she's still not understanding that it's a business and that's the right thing for the business. And yet, she needs to listen to Rolling Stones. You can't always get what you want. And she's just really, and then and then she starts to have like the other panic attack again, and you can see she just storms out of there and just walks out and just grabs Tom's hand, and then they just start going away. And just damn, that scene. It's like now and it's funny too because she says, if we all do this, then I quit. And yet Donna says, if you go with and yet Donna says, if we don't do the IPO now, then I fucking quit. And it's like, oh God, it's like the state of Mutiny and the state of our two, leading partners at Mutiny. It's at we are at the point of, this is the equivalent now of, do you sign the Sokovia Accords or do you not sign the Sokovia Accords? Like, it's on now. It's gotten to that point. And it's like, shit, what's going to happen now? Because I saw the preview, and it's so interesting because in the preview for next week's episode, we didn't see Cameron at all. So it's like, ooh, man, is she going to be like Brian Wilson now and just stay depressed, stay in her room and just drink herself to death? Or not? Well, of course, Brian Wilson's still alive, but he's just like a vegetable. He just stood in his room, never wanting to do anything. It's like, damn, this just might, God damn, I think this just might be the best episode of the series so far. I'd say, if not, I would say this is easily, for me personally, this is the best episode of season 4. And goddamn, and I really, 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 truly, truly hope that we get season 4, because, of course, tell all your friends. Please watch Halt and Catch Fire. And then, of course, for me, this was a fucking 10 out of 10. It was at a good 8 or 9, but that boardroom scene at the end during the party, that just put this at a 10 for me. So anyways, of course, we do not want Halt and Catch Fire to get canceled. Its viewership has been going down. So please spread the word. Tell all your friends. Just tell everyone how incredible this show is, because we need to let this show keep continuing on, because I love it. And I know if you're watching this review, I can tell you love it too. So let's spread the word. Let's let this show keep going on. So anyways, I'm Mr. Gaming Guitarist, and this has been my episode review. So if this is your first time watching me, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on my future episode reviews, so you don't miss out on all my other videos. And you can also watch my the N4G TV podcast, which is the podcast I do on the N4G TV YouTube channel. And you can also check out my EP that I released, War of the Insides. There's a playlist for it. It's 3 tracks of mine, 3 songs that I made. I'm very proud of it. And let me know what you think of that if you give that a listen. So anyways, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you for next week's episode. Bye.